In this video, we are going to discuss about Chapter 9, Virtualization and Cloud Computing. Here we have two sections. 9.1 is the virtualization concept and 9.2 is the cloud computing concept. What are the objectives which you are going to see in virtualization? We are going to install a virtual machine on a computer, explain about the server virtualization, and install virtualization software on a computer. In cloud computing, we are going to see compare different cloud computing concept, describe the uses of the cloud, and what are the cloud services and cloud computing. So this concept we are going to see in virtualization as well as in cloud computing. So what is virtualization? Virtualization enables a single computer to host multiple independent virtual computers called virtual machines that share the host computer hardware. So what is the use of this virtualization concept is, so nowadays when we use the desktop, if we need some other operating systems, we cannot go for some another physical machine. So what we will be doing is, using the virtual software or virtualization software, we will try to install or we will install the another operating system in the same desktop or the laptop. So that is the concept of virtualization. So it enables a single computer to host a multiple independent virtual computers called virtual machines that share the host computer hardware. So if you have the physical machine, whatever the hardware components like hard drive, memory and other things, that will be shared by the other virtual machines. Virtualization software separates the actual physical hardware from the VM instances. An image of a VM can be saved as a file and can be restarted when it is required. I'll just show you a sample how the virtual machine is created. In the desktop, you have this Oracle VM virtual box. In this, we have the Windows 10 here. On the top of that, I'm going to install, or I already have the Linux operating system, so I'm going to run the Linux operating system using the software Oracle VM VirtualBox. So this is the concept of virtualization. In a single PC, you can have multiple instances of virtual machines. I already have this Ubuntu. I'll start this one. Now your operating system will be started. So in one physical machine we have two operating system. Here the cloud computing separates the applications from the hardware. The cloud computing plays a very important role, so you can have as many as applications which you can bring it from the server. Service providers such as Amazon Web Services own and manage the cloud infrastructures. There are different types of service providers are there for cloud computing, like Amazon Web Services, we have Facebook, we have Google, we have so many service providers are there. Whatever the software you need, whatever the requirements are there, you can access from their services. So virtualization is the foundation which supports cloud computing. So the basic need for the cloud computing is the concept of virtualization. Virtualization is the foundation which supports cloud computing. We have traditional server deployment. We'll go for the concept of traditional server deployment. What is the server deployment is? Traditionally, organizations delivered applications and services using powerful dedicated servers. In our college also, if you see many organizations, they maintain a dedicated servers like web server, email server, SQL server and file server. We have a separate servers for each and every applications, for each and every task. So for all the websites, maintaining the websites, we will be having a web server, or for maintaining the details of all your email, we have the email server, and for maintaining all your database, we have the SQL server, and for related to the file, we have the file server. These dedicated servers are equipped with large amount of RAMs, powerful CPUs and multiple large storage devices. These dedicated servers are equipped with large amount of RAM. So obviously these servers needed large amount of RAM, powerful CPUs and multiple storage devices, because we are going to create multiple virtual machines in a single physical machines. What is the disadvantage? It is here we have the wasted resources, single point of failure, and power server sprawl. Wasted resources, single point of failure, and server sprawl. So these are the disadvantages of traditional server deployment. Server virtualizations. Server virtualization take advantage of idle resources to reduce the number of servers required. Instead of going for a separate server, we will be using a server virtualization concept which takes the advantage of idle resources. In this, we have the concept of a program called the hypervisor is used to manage the computer resources and various virtual machines. We have the hardware, on the top of that we have the hypervisor. It is just similar to that of the supervisor for the shopping mall and all. Okay, so you know what is the task of the supervisor. Like that, here also we have the hypervisor with in which we have multiple operating systems. It is managed by this hypervisor. Windows operating system, here we have the Linux and Linux operating system. It is maintained and managed by the hypervisor. It provides VM access to the hardware in the physical machines such as CPU, memory, disk controller, and NIC. Each virtual machine runs a complete and separate operating system. So as you see that in the diagram, we have the Windows operating system. So it runs a complete and separate operating systems. We may have a separate Mac operating system as well as a Linux operating system as well. What is the advantage of server virtualizations? Already we have seen the disadvantages of your traditional server deployment. What is the, if you go for a separate server deployment, what is the disadvantages are there? So if you go for the virtualization concept, what are the advantages? So better use of resources, less space required, less energy consumed, reduced costs, faster server provisioning, maximizing server uptime, improved disaster recovery, support for legacy system. So these are the advantages of server virtualization. If you go for the concept of virtualization, you can use better use of resources, less space required, less energy required. Why this less space required? We are not going for a multiple machines, we are going for only one physical machines with a large amount of RAM, hard disk, storage, everything. So less energy is consumed, it is reduced cost. When you trying to buy 4 or 5 desktops, it will cost more. When you are buying a single laptop or single desktop, it will reduce the cost. So these are the advantages of server virtualization. Next, like server virtualizations, we have the client side virtualization also. What is this client side virtualization? Client side virtualization enables users to run virtual machine on their local computer. You can run your virtual machines in your desktop itself. That is the concept of virtual side client side virtualization. It allows user to test new operating systems software or to run older software. It is possible for you to run any new operating system, or if you want to have any software, or if you want to run the older software, it is possible in the client side virtualizations. It is a tendency for the user to install any kind of operating system. We have host computer. The host computer is nothing but the physical computer controlled by the user. Host OS, the operating system of the host computer. If you try to install Linux, that is the host OS in your system. And guest OS, the operating system that is running in the virtual machine. So this is the diagrammatic representations for your client side virtualization. We have the virtual machines, we have the operating system like application on guest operating system and guest OS virtualization software and the host operating system. So that's all about the virtualization concept. Now we will move on to cloud computing. This is the another part in chapter 9, cloud computing. As already told that computing and virtualization always go hand in hand. What is the definition of cloud computing? I'll give you one simple example. If you don't have Microsoft Word or Excel in your system or in your desktop, or you have not installed Microsoft Word or Excel in your desktop, if you have the internet connection, still it is possible for you to open the Excel Word file in your system if someone has sent you that file, Excel file or the Word file. That is because of cloud computing. Cloud computing provides user with on-demand delivery of computing services over the internet. The main thing which we need here is we need the internet. Without internet we cannot do anything, so we cannot go for the concept of cloud computing itself. That is one of the major disadvantage of cloud computing. The cloud computing services are owned and hosted by service providers. As already discussed, we have different types of service providers are there, like Amazon, like Facebook, like Google. So many service providers are available to provide their services. For example, even the iCloud, you have the iPhone and you want to store your photos or videos, they will provide you some 5 GB or 10 GB. Once your limit is over, then you need to buy the storage from iCloud. So most of us already use cloud services when you use social media applications, access an online music library, or use online storage for safe photos. Organizations typically pay cloud providers a usage fee based on the user access and the usage of services. Most of the companies, they have the tie-up with Microsoft. If they want their email services or the storage for their employees, they have the tie-up. So the organization typically pay cloud providers. There may be iCloud, or it may be from Amazon, or it may be from Google, as a usage fee. We need to pay some amount for them for their usage of the services. What are the different types of cloud services? Or the cloud service provides can provide various services tailored to meet the customer requirements. These are the different types of services. Or the software as a services. There are some cases where you need the software, you can borrow the software, you can take the software. Once you finish usage of that, so you can return it back, or you need to pay only for what you are using. Platform as a services, infrastructure as a services. Cloud service providers have extended the IaaS model to also provide IT as a services, ITaaS, infrastructure services. So they provide the IT as a service, SaaS, PaaS and IaaS. What is software as a services? Software applications like email, Office 365 or Excel are provided over the network on a subscription basis, typically used by the end user like us. PaaS includes tools and services used to deliver the application, includes operating system and the application stack, typically requested by the application and the software developer. Infrastructure as a services includes network, computers and the storage, where you can request for network, request for computers and request for the storage, typically used by organization, infrastructure and network architect. So this is possible if you want to run a company. It is possible by sitting at home, you can start your own company. So that is because of cloud computing. In before olden days, so we have to see a office, we need to buy a computer, we need to have the network, all we need to have the software, all these things we have to buy it, but that is not need nowadays because of the cloud computing. We are going to discuss about the cloud computing characteristics. It is on demand self service. Only when you need it, you are going to use that services. That is called as self service. Rapid elasticity. So it can keep on extending and you can reduce it also. Resource pooling. Measured and metered services. You are going to pay for what you are going to use. Broad network access. So these are some of the characteristics of cloud computing. It is on demand, rapid elasticity, resource pooling, measured and metered service, broad network access. Finally, we come to the different types of clouds. We have public cloud, we have private cloud, we have hybrid, and we have community cloud computing. So I'll just tell you what is the difference between public cloud and private cloud. Okay, so for example, you have your Gmail ID that comes under your private cloud. You understand? If you have your own Gmail ID, your photos, your Google photos, everything comes under your private. It is your own. So public, like some government office, you are trying to access your SIMs, college information management systems. So that is considered to be a public cloud. Hybrid, it is a combination of both public and private cloud. So that's all in chapter 9. I hope you have understood what is the concept of virtualization and what is cloud computing, why we are using virtualization and why we are using cloud computing.